Okay, in this exercise we're going to talk about diagnosing audio problems and editing audio using Adobe Audition. Okay, here in Adobe Audition we again start out with a blank screen, and what we're going to do this time is we're going to open an existing audio file. And this is a radio show that has a few issues, and as you can see it can take a few minutes to start loading up. And so here is a radio file. Now this is a complete show. Now you notice the timeline starts at 0 and goes all the way up to basically an hour. And this is the entire waveform here. Now you notice that it goes wildly from -3 to -3, almost up to 0. Now this is not an ideal timeline or not an ideal waveform, but it does work. And also, if you'll notice, if you click anywhere here on the timeline, you can play, and you should be able to see the audio playing right there. Okay, and you'll notice that when we pause, all the levels stop. Everything stops moving, and the reason for that is that every instant of audio is recorded as discrete units. It's nothing arbitrary about it. Now, going from basically 0 to 1 hour on this scale doesn't give you that much control, which is why you have this scale up here. If you grab one end of this and move it back, you can see you can magnify in on a small area. And same thing over here. So essentially, if you do that, and then you can move this to position wherever it is you need to work, and you can make it ridiculous, meaning that you can get right in on that to the point where you can see ridiculously small details. And this is calibrated in microseconds, so you can get to the point where it's like that, where it really doesn't mean anything. But let's say that we want to, well, let's do a little bit better than that. Let's say we want to get that far away. So if I'm here, and you can see this is where it would move. And so you have louder areas and less loud areas. You'll also notice the levels are not identical going from one channel to the other. That's because we have a left and right channel that are supposed to be different. Overall, this is a healthy waveform. But there are some areas where they could perhaps be better. Like for example, if you look at this. This is obviously the end of the song. And that's starting to look like dead air. Something may be wrong there if the audio basically goes to 0. You wouldn't normally want to include the entire decay rate of a song if it's ending. But another factor is, let's say that for some reason you wanted to eliminate a part of the waveform. You could go into here, highlight it, and just hit the delete button, and it's gone. So then, if you go back there and play it again, and again, I'm not sure why that's registering so low at that point. And of course, if you decide that you're wrong, just hit Control-Z and you get it back. And if we go out here a little bit. Okay, and here we have another radio file, and here we do have some unhealthy levels. And levels get unhealthy at the point where they become distorted. Now if you look at this area here, let's go ahead and zoom in on that. So I'm going to isolate this section. And you'll see that we have audio here that's going way up to the top. Now let's see what that actually sounds like. Now you'll notice it's going all the way up into the red. And it sounds a little bit distorted. If we go back to this one. Now if someone's laughing, that's not necessarily a problem. And you hear a little bit buzzy. Yeah, you hear that? It's got a buzzy, gravelly sound. And that is distorted audio, because what's happened is it's gone so far up to the top of the range that the computer cannot record all of the tonal values, and it clips them. And let me demonstrate that. If I were to take just this section, just highlight it, and I were to go to this control here and bring it down, you'll see in this particular case I may even be able to get some of it back. So if I play that again, and if I reset those, so it does actually sound a little bit better. And there may be some instances where you really can't do much about it. So here you can see we have some issues with consistency. As we pan through this, you can see that the left channel is abnormally high. So if we play some of that, you can see that the levels are favoring the left channel, which is creating some confusion. And if you were listening to that, you try to adjust the pan control and it wouldn't do any good. And then you go back here and then you would find that it's different. So that's the sort of thing that you have to take care of at the level of the mixer. So basically one channel was up too high. Here we have lower levels, and if you play these are obviously not going to be acceptable. They're not peaking any higher than -15, so that's not going to work. So here, if you wanted to try to correct something like this, one thing you could do is to turn off one channel and apply the correction only to the other. So if you were to boost that, you might be able to get something out of it. But generally you don't want to find yourself in that position.